Okay, so everybody, a very good morning to everyone. So how are we feeling today? Good, excited? Are we excited about the conference? That's nice. So welcome everyone to the most awaited 16th chapter of STC India Annual 2014 Conference. And my name is Minnie and I will be your host for today. So let me give you a brief about what will be happening in this 2 days conference. So the conference will showcase talent amongst a variety of writers and specialists that will act as a unifying platform to share knowledge and professional experience. The conference will be exploring will highlight content technologies like cloud, data, XML, structured authoring, HTML5, content management, and many more things. So we hope that every participant here gains an insightful knowledge and enjoys the conference thoroughly. So let me just get started by calling upon all the admin council members. So the first person I would like to call upon is Manisha Khurana. She is the president. I would now request Manisha to escort our guests, Mr. LNV Samy and Mr. Joe Welinske, please. The next person I would like to call upon is Ramesh Iyengar. He is the immediate past president. Come on people, you've had your breakfast. Okay, so the next person, okay, he's been working day and night, so you better applaud nicely. Rajdeep Gupta, Secretary and the Conference Program Manager. And Naveen D. Cruz, the next person, he is the Treasurer. Okay, so I'm going to say a few words about Rajdeep, and I would like then for him to take upon the stage. So Rajdeep Gupta is basically a very high energy, top performing personality, as you can already see. He's been working day and night for this conference. And so he has more than around 8 years of experience in the overall industries of technical writing and technical products, services and sales, and many more things. He's currently working as a managing director of Blue Dots Consultancy Services. And he has been associated with many MNCs like Infosys, Author IT, and many more. STC is like a second home for Rajdeep, and he has been contributing to the various chapters in STC. So I would now like to call upon Rajdeep Gupta. Come on.
Thank you, Minnie. May we start by inviting Joe and Samy to please go and light up the lamp, please. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Samy. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 16th STC India Annual Conference that we are having this time in the IT city of India, Bangalore. It's a very auspicious occasion for a lot of us because auspicious in the sense that if you are an STC India member, I always wanted that we have a power-packed audience that are interested and ready to come and attend the conference with all spirit. So we are closely, I'll start off with basically, we are closely having it one of the largest gathering in the last 5 years. I think we have touched close to 450 right now, and judging by the crowd that are coming in, I think it's going to be a wonderful conference. A program manager duty and responsibility is basically to ensure that the conference runs smoothly and a lot of operation runs smoothly and everything. Of course, we started in the month of March, but I cannot tell you that this conference would not have been success if my dear friend Naveen De Cruz was not there. Please give a round of applause for him. Naveen and I have worked, I might be standing here as a conference program manager, but he is one of the persons that who randomly comes to a limelight, and over the past 1 week we went to sleep at 3 o'clock in the night. And you must have seen my emails. We're coming like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, and it was happening. Lost quite a few projects, by the way. So but STC, as Mini says, and it's like for me, it's like it's my baby. It's a passion. A lot of people say that it's a voluntary job. I never take it. I never considered. I've been a member from 2007. I never considered it as a voluntary role. I consider it as a full-fledged role. And if you want to take it up, you need to you need to ensure that whatever you're doing it with full-fledged dedication and passion. And you need to do it, absolutely fine. So this year conference, I like to give credit to a lot of people, but I think Manisha will cover in that parts. But especially I mentioned Naveen's name. I also like to mention Mugdha's name. Her conference teaser emails and everything has been very stimulating. And all along from Pune she came and she contributed a lot. Then the next person I want to take name is Vimal. I think Vimal has contributed a lot. This design and all that sort of a thing has contributed a lot. And to my beloved STC Admin Council members, they have been a constant source of support to me. This conference, we started yesterday. We had a pre-conference in which we had multiple tracks happening at Unisys, NetApp, and at Mahindra Kombiba. So we had topics on a wide range of level, and the feedback that we got from a lot of people was, you guys have actually come out this time, and everybody has been talking about the paper content, the quality of papers that were selected, more this thing. I would like to specially mention Kiranmai and Kamalakanan's name, our conference paper judges. They have done an outstanding job. This conference, for a lot of factors, would always be special to me, probably in a sense that, we have reached out to a large part of a section of people and large part of if you take a look into the agenda, you will realize there are a lot of new speakers who are presenting for the first time at the at the annual conference, which is a good thing. We expect the conference to provide something to everyone. We expect that we will, we will do a couple of things which may actually go here and there. We may actually do certain things which may not work, but please understand that we will try our level best to ensure that you have a fantastic experience. Yeah, everything, right from your coming to the conference hall, to your lunch, to your dinner, to everything. And I don't want to go further. I also want to say a big thank you to Joe for traveling down from coming from US, and he has been also a constant support. My thanks to Adobe. Also a big thanks to Adobe India, Alcatel-Lucent, and the other sponsoring companies. I just need to talk to them, and they were more than happy to come down and said we want to support STC India. Have a wonderful conference. If there is anything that we can do as a conference manager to make it better, please pass your feedback. Obviously there will be criticism. Criticisms are bound to happen. There will be blogs, there will be tweets, there will be anything that you want to write on. But please understand that we are here to just share knowledge. And when we do that, there are things which we continuously need to improve. If we stop learning, if we start improving, our journey is incomplete. So I'm sure the next year, wherever we do the conference, the program team will do a fantastic job. But this has been by far one of the best conferences that I feel that you will enjoy. And thank you so much for coming here, and have a wonderful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajdeep, for that wonderful speech, and I hope that everybody thoroughly enjoys this conference and makes the most of it. The next person that I would like to talk about is Mr. LNV Samy. Mr. Samy is the Vice President of Engineering for Technology Products. Sorry about that. So it's actually Ms. Manisha Khurana that I would like to talk about. So Manisha is a result-oriented professional with the focus of innovation. She has around 10 years of experience in technical communication and instructional designing. May I please call upon Manisha Khurana.
Thank you, Minnie, for a wonderful introduction, and I must say that I am deeply honored to have the opportunity to speak with the most talented technical communicators on their biggest annual event. I would like to tell you about the major activities of STC India this year. I would also like to tell you about I would also like to tell you that we were recognized, STC India chapter was recognized for the last year effort with the Community of Achievement, Community of Merit Award by STC US for improving STC visibility and professional standing in community through high number of quality initiatives, especially think tank and debate contests. This year's Admin Council took charge with an intense focus on increasing the membership value, STC membership value for our senior members and new members. Therefore, we started our activities by acting upon the feedback that we received in 2013 annual general meeting. That was basically on user experience of the website and the type of sessions that the technical communicators are expecting these days. So we first revamped the STC India website because that was the biggest pain point last year. After that, we organized competitions to invite suggestions on the new website design and to spread awareness about the new website design. So, apart from that, we organized around 7 workshops, 5 regional conferences, 15 learning events, 15 webinars throughout the year, which was a good number. In terms of new initiatives, we have set up a blogs portal, discussion forum, YouTube channel, webinar recordings. We've created webinar recordings, special interest groups, and theme-based annual conference that you are attending today. Okay, and all these activities increased the value of STC India membership for our senior members and new members in India, and we saw 100% increase in membership this year. And to achieve all that, we did little amendment in recruiting volunteers. New positions were introduced this year, and we had, all the volunteers were wonderful. It was really a wonderful year. Now all these activities, because all these activities were possible because of these volunteers only, who diligently worked because of their passion for the profession. And I'm extremely thankful to all of them for their efforts. All this was also not possible because of, all this was also possible because of the constant support that we received from our sponsors. This year, Adobe was the highest level sponsor for us, and many of our initiatives such as webinar recordings were successful because of their support only. And I'm thankful to Adobe for their enormous contribution in the advancement of technical communication profession. This was really a great year. Again, I am repeating. Another major achievement for us is that we got the chapter membership fee waived off for the chapter members, and for those who are not members yet. And this is in the history of STC India chapter, this year the membership cost is the lowest. So if you are a member, you can meet us and take the discount code for renewing your membership, because now the chapter fee is waived off on your membership. And if you are not a member, then we have got $40 discount for you on your membership. Finally, I would like to say that we have great sessions scheduled today and tomorrow on the most current topics related to customer-focused documentation. So be there and take advantage of these sessions and utilize all the networking breaks to expand your network and maximize the benefits of STC for you. Thank you everyone for taking out time to attend the best event of for technical communicators in India, where close to 500 technical communicators are gathering, are gathered today, you know. And also I would like to thank Adobe, Alcatel-Lucent, Mayflower, Oracle, Mercer University, Mahindra Comviva, Unisys, NetApps, Blue Dots, and Contended for their enormous support in organizing this annual conference successfully. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Manisha. So, are we sleepy? Sure? Yeah, because I can't hear people clapping. Come on, one more. That's better. I can now feel that there are people who are awake. Okay, so let me now call upon the next person who is also our chief guest, Mr. LNV Samy. So Mr. LNV Samy is the Vice President of Engineering for Technology Products Division at Unisys. He has over 30 years of experience in the IT industry. He has published several papers in software engineering in a number of international conferences and journals. So please, may I call upon Mr. Samy? A huge round of applause, please.
I think I need some help with the slides, okay, but by the time. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak to you today. I think it's a great pleasure for me to speak to a team of creative people as well as innovative people. Okay. And I'm just waiting for somebody to help me with the slide deck getting started. Okay. I think it requires, it's asking for a password. Okay. That's great. So today I will be talking about product engineering and its implications in technical documentation. I would like to probably put this into context of where I am focusing on, because it's not, may or may not be relevant to all areas of documentation. I'm more focusing on technology products type of things where there is a lot of disruptive trends happening. And what does that mean in terms of where the product engineering and the product management is heading, and what does that mean to technical documentation. Okay. Before I do that, I think Unisys pays my salary, so I think it's my duty to, and has allowed me to spend a couple of hours here today morning. So I thought I should do a small advertisement for Unisys before I get started with the real topic. Okay. So here is a short thing about what what I really would like to highlight here is it's basically designing and developing products, technology products, which could be hardware, software, firmware, and to be ready for sale to multiple customers. Okay, and of course there is a production process, but the production process in a real technology product is a very small component. The development process and the support probably is the biggest part of it. And with that, I also then would like to talk about what does that mean in terms of product engineering life cycle. Okay. In a traditional way, it has got multiple stages, okay, which is how we used to develop when I started my development in software in products about 30 plus years ago. And it used to be sequential, okay, what you used to call as a waterfall model. We used to do some research work, and then we do some development work, and then it goes into testing, then it goes into product services, where the documentation, the training, the digital marketing aspects of it, and then the product integration, then we bring in the solutions team to look at how can you really use this product and convert it into a solution for various customers, depending upon what those customer requirements are. And some of them used to overlap a bit, but traditionally more or less it's a waterfall. And then once the product is released and customers start using it, okay, you get what we put into the system called software bugs. And then we start working on fixing those bugs. So that's what we call as product sustenance. And then there is a lot of churn happens in the technology. So we try to keep ourselves with the latest technology. We call it as software product maintenance, in terms of bringing the things up to the latest levels, so that the customers who are moving to the underlying technologies with the current levels are able to use your product well. And then the sustenance keeps going. Then we now start all over again with research and development, and then the next set of development for the next release of the product, and it goes on and on. Whereas if you look at what has happened in the last maybe 5-10 years, the life cycle has changed dramatically. Okay. We are moved from waterfall into iterative development. Okay, and some people say iterative development is nothing but multiple iterations of a waterfall model. Okay, and I don't know whether that is right or wrong. Okay, people have different views. But having said that, I think we have rational unified process was one of the ones which came into existence. IBM brought it in maybe nearly 10 years back. Okay, it became a very popular iterative model where you try to run multiple streams of the R&D, the requirements, the design phase of it, the architectural phase of it, the implementation phase of it, all trying to have a bit of overlap, and you have multiple iterations of each one of those phases. And in the last 5 years or so, agile development has really picked up. Okay. And you find that agile really challenges the way traditionally development has taken place and the development mindset of the people. In agile, you have what is called as sprints, and in each sprint, a team of people work together on what they call as stories, which are, I think, roughly equivalent of requirements. And the concept of things like subject matter experts, I'm a testing specialist, I'm an information development specialist, they are all getting blurred. Okay. Technically, in pure agile, there is nothing called SME. Okay. A person who works on the Scrum team is supposed to know everything that is required for him or her to do their job well and be able to deliver. And you deliver incrementally. Okay, so each sprint is supposed to bring in a functionality into the product, and as the functionality goes increasing sprint after sprint, we call it as a walking skeleton. Okay, so you have a walking skeleton of your application of your product, and as the sprint moves forward, okay, the walking skeleton starts running, and then the running skeleton then becomes a real product, and then you think it's time for you to release the product, and you release the product. Technically, there is nothing specifically targeted towards ID at the end of what I will do. ID gets released as part of each sprint, should get released as part of each sprint, information development, and testing should happen as part of each sprint. So that really challenges the way we have conventionally thought about product development and subject matter experts and specialists and what roles they play. You know, the chief architect, what does he do in Agile? Okay, what is his role in Agile? There is nothing like that. Okay, in Agile, all are considered as equal, whether you are a fresh graduate coming out of the college or a person with 20 years of experience. Everyone has got the same right to pick a story. Okay. And they are supposed to work together and make sure that they are able to deliver in a good fashion. So that challenges even the mindset of the developers within the team. Okay, I have heard issues where, challenges I should say, where people who are well experienced things that they are not being well respected in the team because fresh engineers who has got a lot of innovative ideas, who probably understand the modern technology much better than who have worked on systems with 20, 30 years experience on legacy technologies. Sometimes they are able to outbeat them. Okay. Whereas in a hierarchical way, in the traditional way, that would have never happened, because you would have had a phase called architectural phase where all the senior people who had got so much of experience would have spent their life on drafting this 300-page architecture document and thrown it to the designers to get the design done. The designers would have thrown it to the junior college guys who are coming out of the college to do the programming, and somebody else will be testing it. And then the ID team will tell me, I want all the screens to be ready for me to get the documentation ready. So after your product is ready, you give me 2-3 months for me to get my product, the documentation done and my training development done. So it goes, but we don't have the type of luxury anymore. Okay, we are in a situation today where what we in the mission critical products, what we used to deliver once in 12 to 18 months, we are under severe pressure to deliver, make a release every 3 months. So how do you make that happen? How do you make that happen in an effective way? And especially if you're talking about mission critical systems, okay, quality comes into a big play. And people like me who are very traditionally used to the system testing, who really gives me the assurance that everything is okay, I can't get it done in 3 months, in a 3 months development cycle. How do I make sure I get those things injected into the so-called sprints and make that happen? Okay. So what does that mean? What does it mean to technical documentation? Before I go into that, I also want to really look at some characteristics of a world-class product engineering organization. Okay. And this I'm probably putting it to context, a little more into context with respect to India, because I did this with respect to India for my team as to where my team should be focusing on because I want my team in India to be the best in terms of a world-class product engineering organization. Okay. So by the way, I look after the teams in Australia, India, and China, and I'm based out of Sydney. So I really wanted to spend some time with the team, my leadership team here in India, so that I can give them the view of where they should be looking at in the next, I think we started this exercise 6-7 years ago, and I think we're really fairly extremely good world-class product engineering organization today in India with more than 20% of the patents of Unisys globally coming out of this team in India. So if I look at the product life cycle is large, is long. Okay. And whereas the development life cycle is really shrinking. And multiple customers for a single solution means quality, high quality, there is no chance for errors, and high reliability, high availability and security. Okay, we are very proud of that none of our systems have ever been hacked in its history of 140 years in existence. Unisys is a 140-year company, and we have never had any of our systems hacked in. So we take big pride in security of the systems we develop. So that's one of the key focus areas for us. So how do we really make sure of that? And I think this is specific to us. We now strong computer science fundamentals. That means strong in the fundamentals, not necessarily jack of all trades. We are looking for people with narrow focus, but miles deep they can go in. They understand that particular technology miles deep. I don't need people who understand 10 technologies. If I have a person who can understand even half a technology but can go miles deep, they can do wonders for me. And system engineers with inherent desire for specialization. That means they are able to think what we call as a system thinking. System thinking is your ability to think not in terms of components, but in terms of a system and how it really think in terms of systems, but work in terms of components. And that's a really different set of mindset. And people who like technical challenges, and these resources are scarce and expensive in India. And we also look in terms of technology, as I said, depth of technology, depth of knowledge, and depth is more important than breadth. Creation of intellectual property and innovation. And learning and development, I think we need to make investment in terms of training on specific skills. Very high emphasis on technology training and development. And technology leadership and management development, that's a challenge because people traditionally in India are more inclined towards the management ladder than a technology ladder. Okay. And we need people at technology level as vice presidents of technology who are pure play technologists. Okay, they are not managers. Okay, if you give them a team of people, they will fail miserably. Okay, but as a technologist, they can do wonders. Okay, they are probably the best world thought leaders. So we really need people with a mix, with both types of skills, but a lot more emphasis on the technology for you to be successful. Knowledge management is a key role. So if you put these things into context, okay, what I thought I will also talk about is how good are we in our ability to predict technical communications. Okay. Technical communications, there are three types, I think they say. One is what you call as consulting type of communication, which is called knowledge type of communication, which is mainly communication relating to knowledge acquisition type of things or taking advice, consultancy, those type of things. And the other one is conversational ones. Okay. This is where the technology transfer happens and people get clarification for them to get their job done. And then the last one is the managerial type of communication, which is motivational, inspirational, guidelines, the corporate mandates coming through, those type of communications. So what this is a team of professionals, Mark, Stephen, Rosalind, did this one relatively long time ago, about 9 years ago. Okay. And their research, what they did was they really took only the conversational aspect and whether they are able to predict very well the communication, technical communications, okay, for the conversational type. For a reasonable sized, I think it's about a 1-year program with about average of 30 people working on this program. I think it went, the peak, the team was about 50 people. It was geographically dispersed team. It had many cross-functional ones so that we can get a reasonable film of real life. And what they did was they really started predicting on a week-by-week basis what type of communication, conversational communication is going to be required for that particular program for that week. Okay. And then at the end of the week, they really went and did a survey on what really happened. Okay. So whether they were able to predict even on a weekly level. Okay. It doesn't have to be at the beginning of the program. And it yielded some interesting results. Let me pull out my... Okay, what they found was at the higher level, they were able to predict only 50%. Okay. But 50%, then they did some mathematical calculations to understand what they couldn't predict. What they realized was they couldn't predict some of the managerial ones or the inspirational ones or the knowledge type of communications. But so if you exclude that which is not part of the study, then they came to the conclusion we can roughly predict about 80%. Okay. And what they really also found was, I think they really also did another one as part of the studies. They also studied whether it is a one-way communication or it's a two-way communication. Okay. And they found that their initial predictions of one-way communication was reasonably way off. What they really landed up doing was doing a lot of two-way communication. Okay. And they also had reasonable, I think still about 20 to 25% of unpredicted communications at a weekly level, and roughly 50% of total unpredicted communications if you take all the types of communications. So why I'm saying this? Okay, it's just got an impact. Okay, and it has got an impact. I'm talking only about technical communication here. Okay, we are living in a world of geographically distributed development happening almost in any organization today. And we have stakeholders in one country, we have the marketing people in another country, we have the portfolio people who are supposed to come out with the requirements, or focus groups in another country, and you have development teams dispersed in multiple countries, and you've got ID teams sitting in probably another building in the same country, and they really need to communicate with each other. Okay? If our ability to predict this communication is not that good, okay, then how can we do differently to make it more effective? Okay? So to me, I think although the study is about 8-9 years old, what this tells me is this gives us a lot of learnings for us to really look at how should we structure our teams for development. Okay? Whether it is information development or ID or technical documentation or testing or pure play development. Okay? How do we really, for us to be successful in a global engineering environment, we need to really look at whether we have everything we need specifically more or less in one location for us to be successful. Okay? And so that is one of the things I think we really, you guys need to look at from your own perspective. Okay? If you think that you are able to do your job remotely extremely well, because a number of the Indian software professionals today work remotely, or remotely in the sense they work for, spend most of their efforts for customers and who are sitting outside of India, and they communicate on the requirements, understanding, and a lot of the things happen remotely, and the knowledge transfer happens remotely, so that we have sufficient knowledge and expertise for us to be successful. And having said that, I think this is probably, the one on the left hand side is your prediction, the one on the right hand side is your actuals, okay, and the ones which are dark at the bottom means that they have been able to predict those things correctly. Okay. So I think just I wanted to touch base on this, that our ability to predict really gives us some fairly good insights into what happens on the technical communication side. And we really need to rethink in some of the aspects. Okay. And now I'm going to move into my views. Okay, it's purely my personal views on where I believe technical documentation as a profession is going to head. Okay. I think I talked about rational unified process and agile, and the need for people to be holistic in their knowledge and expertise, and the need for them to work concurrently with development teams. And so what this means to information development professionals is they need to be more technically savvy and need to be a lot more aware of the product. Because you are going to be working alongside development professionals who are mostly introverts, who understand technology well, and they talk now number of times in terms of technology, which may not make sense to somebody from outside. It may look like a gobbledygook. And so we really need to look at, if you really want to be successful in your profession, you need to really become more technically savvy. And I can see that happening. Okay? I can see that happening definitely in my team, not only in India, I think India and rest of the world, that they are fairly technically savvy. I have had some ID professionals to whom even the programmers go to understand how this product works. Okay? So that's really where you need to be. Okay? And also I think I've seen the move from technical editing to technical writing. I think they are two different things. And when I say technical editing, I think I also heard that you've got a position called editors, who are supposed to be the godfathers at the end, who do the tick off at the end of the things. But I don't mean the technical editing. Here is you ask the developers to give you the short write-up of what needs to go into the technical documentation, pull them together, make the grammar right, make sense all right, it looks symmetrical across the whole documentation, clean it up, put some good pictures to illustrate it well, and release it up documentation. That's what I mean by technical editing. And I think you need to be able to work with the developers and develop the technical documentation along with it. I think the nature of the technical documentation will change dramatically, which I will talk about. And I think you will become more integral part of the development team, as the methodologies such as Agile will drive that automatically. And the concurrent development of information development along with development. So you will be expected to produce at each sprint information development relating to the wherever that product is in terms of a walking skeleton or a running skeleton or pre-release candidate for the product. And the implication 2 is an experience from our own things. What we find is the ID professionals need to be a lot more customer centric than ever in the past. That means you don't have to be only technically savvy and aware of the product. You need to understand the business, you need to understand the domain a lot more than what it was in the past. I think we have a product. Traditionally, I would have released the user guides, the installation guides, best practice guides, how to use guides, and be happy with it and say, okay, here is the product, here is all the documentation you want. I've got some training materials available. My services team will help you to deliver the training, and we'll sit with you to work out how you want to implement it for your particular solution. Okay. Today, 2 minutes? Okay. Today, it's changed. It's changing dramatically. Today, it's more about shrink-wrapped software, which will go into meet a specific use cases of customers. So unless you are able to understand the domain and understand the business well, you will not be able to deliver that. It's not only about product. You need to understand how the product is going to be used in the domain, how the customers are going to, specific customers are going to use it, so that you can do well in your work. I think the other one is the democratization of content creation. Okay. So you're going to be seeing more and more of conversational authoring and crowdsourcing becoming a key player in the technical documentation. And I'm being told I've got only another 1 minute or so left, so I've got only 2 more implications. Okay. And then the other one is the structured authoring will change dramatically. And your authoring, what you do will be more of an enabler to access the information readily. Okay? In terms of, for example, in terms of keeping the digital content indexed, or ability to search, putting some key abstracts for people to understand what this is, where it is going to lead them to. So things like that is what is going to be the area in which you will focus, because as a lot of the things will get taken over by conversational and crowdsourcing. And the last one I'm going to say is going to be controversial. Okay? And before I do that, I think I'm going to take 2-3 minutes extra. Is that okay? Okay. I would like to start with a real life example. Okay. We bought a cot, okay, 4 or 5 years ago for my bed. Okay. And in Australia, normally they deliver you in pots. Okay. And you have to assemble, or you can ask for somebody to come and assemble it. Okay. If you ask for somebody to come and assemble it, it will cost you more than the cost of the cot. Okay. So my wife have very great doubts about my technical ability to do this type of work. Okay. So she said that we should go and get somebody. I said, I'm an engineer. Okay. I will be able to do this. All you need to do is give me a helping hand. Okay. I can't lift everything by myself. You have to hold the other end. I will make sure that the cot will be ready. Okay. I think 4 or 5 hours later, I thought I have done the cot. Everything is okay. And then I did everything, the final checkups. And then I asked my wife, see, here it is. Okay, we have saved so much of dollars. And she came and sat on the cart, it collapsed. Okay. And then I had to say, then I really found out what went wrong. Then I have to really get into emergency fix situation. I had to go and run to the hardware shop, get some additional, things to strengthen where it crashed, and it probably did more damage than it was worth it. Okay, so I think I had to run 2 times to the hardware shop because I didn't get the right things. Okay. By the way, I'm a mechanical engineer by qualification. Okay. And finally it works. I think it's still, the cot is there. And then I think about 3 weeks back, we are getting some guests for the Christmas break. So we decided to get our guest bedroom redone. So we decided to buy. And at the time I told my wife the technical documentation, they gave really didn't explain well how I should fit it up. Okay. And so this time we did it, we went and bought a new cot, and my wife told me very clearly this time, you're not fitting it. Okay. And because we are getting guests, I don't want them to crash. Okay. And so then I said, I will try. And then when we went to the shop, we spoke to them, and he said, don't worry, these are all very simple things to do. Okay. The driver who comes to deliver it, you tell him he will fit it for you. Okay. And I was very embarrassed because when the driver came, there was no documentation. Okay, they have got rid of the documentation. Okay. And the driver came and he fitted it within 20 minutes. Okay. And my wife said, okay, look at this. He didn't look at any documentation. He is not an engineer. Okay. He is able to get things done. Okay. And there is no documentation. Okay. And that's what it leads to my next one. Okay. You will find user experience is what is going to take over. Okay. It may not happen today, but it is happening gradually. Okay. You saw it with smart devices, Apple iPhones was the first one to come. There was no documentation. I used to get my Nokia phones with 100-page documentation in the past. Okay. I think when you get an Apple iPhone, which has got a lot more functionality, convergence of so much of technologies, there is not even a documentation. Okay. And you find that it is percolating to other areas. Okay. And as I said, even a simple thing like a cart, I don't get any more instructions of how to fit it. Okay. And people like me who are engineers really need some well-structured documentation with technical drawings, with the instructions of step 1, step 2 for us to do it. And what I'm saying is that systems will be more intuitive based, okay, and it will be more user experience based type of documentation, and it will be supported by crowd-sourced documentation. Okay. So I got my Nokia Lumia, or Microsoft Lumia as they call it now, about 3-4 weeks back. Okay. So it didn't come with any documentation. So I really was struggling to understand how to insert the SIM card into it. Believe it or not, it's a nano SIM card. It's an obscure place. Okay. So I have to go into the Google, and then there is a video, because a lot of people like me have found it a problem. Somebody has put a crowdsourced video in there. Okay, I could then realize the card I had, I was trying to insert a micro SIM into a nano SIM slot. Okay, so then I have to go to the Vodafone to get my thing replaced with the nano to put that in. So what I'm saying is that crowdsourced based one will slowly take over and replace. Okay, what does that mean to technical documentation professionals? Okay, I think what you will find is people predict that COBOL will die 20 years ago. Okay, and COBOL is still alive and kicking. Okay, 60% of Wall Street is still on COBOL. Okay, and so you will find that this is not going to happen overnight, but it will gradually shift towards that, and there will always be need. But there will be ecosystems will come into play. Okay, and where the technical documentation professionals will start playing roles differently than what it is today. And maybe the same roles they'll be doing in certain other areas, could be internally to systems on help and other things, and could be on things like focus more on customer centricity, customer specific solution documentation. That is where I think you will be heading to. Okay, so that's my last implication, and this is a summary of what I spoke so far. So I would like to thank you very much for your patient listening, and it's been a pleasure talking to you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samy. Okay, so that was really very, very knowledgeable. I would now like to call upon our next chief guest. His name is Joe Welinske. Joe has for over 25 years, he has been providing training, contracting, and consulting services for software industries. He has published the book, Developing User Assistance for Mobile Apps. He also teaches courses for Bellevue College, the University of California, and the University of Washington. In this session, Joe will be presenting a snapshot of our collective professional life in an attempt to identify what value in our daily work as a user assistance professionals. So let's find out what interests and challenges you share with your UA peers. So basically the content that he will be discussing will include information on skills, technologies, tools, and salaries. May I please call upon Joe? Come on, people, applaud.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. Don't worry. But I talk louder when I start getting into a presentation, so thanks for being here. In the back row, can you hear me okay? Is it all right? I get some waves back there. Well, thank you very much for having me here. I'm very excited to be part of your conference, and I'm very impressed by the number of people that you have here today. Thank you to Manisha and also to Raj and Naveen for making it possible for me to get here. They definitely were able to help out with my expenses to make it possible for this trip, and so I'm really excited to be involved with your event. This is my second time in India. The first time was in 1998, and at that time I just felt that I had an interest in visiting India, and I'd heard that some things were starting to develop with the software industry, which is the industry I'd been in already for about 15 years, and I thought, well, if I'm going there, I think maybe I'll try and organize a seminar with technical writers and talk about some of the things that I'm involved in the United States for technical writing. And so I contacted a few contacts that I had in India, and I thought, well, we should be able to get together and get a nice group of people. And it turned out that at that time, even though I had promoted this activity, I was only able to find 6 other people that wanted to sit in a room with me and talk about technical writing. So this is definitely a whole different world. This is really exciting to see so many people here, and I'm very impressed with that. in my bio, I guess I haven't updated it for a while. It said I've been involved in technical communication for 25 years. I think now I'm going on 32 years. So I think I might be one of the oldest people in the room, if not the oldest. But I bet I have the most experience of it. It's a lot of years. I've been. Not that I always think I knew what I was doing, but I started going to STC talks in my local area, which at the time was in Chicago, and going to meetings starting around 1984, and I enjoyed it very much. And now I live in Seattle, and happy to be here for another trip. And I'm also going to be going to Jaipur and Mumbai, and my wife is here, and so looking forward to having a good time. I thought there were a lot of great comments in Sammy's presentation, and it was a really good programming to have me as a follow-up, and I'm glad to follow up on that presentation because I'm going to talk about some of the things that I see as happening in the industry. However, after seeing Sammy's presentation, the one thing I didn't realize is that I needed to start things out with some disco music. So I looked in my iPhone to see what I had. So is music on? We could start something to get things started off here. Let's see if this works.
7 a.m. waking up in the morning, gotta be fresh, gotta go downstairs, gotta have my bowl, gotta have cereal, seeing everything, the time is going to, you know.
Your group to participate in. And so in addition to the statistics from the broader surveys, I'm going to include the data that I received from the people that contributed from STC India. So thank you for those who contributed to that. And I also have surveys on tools, and on salary, although that's not as relevant to what we're doing here since it's a lot of United States statistics. But as I go through, I just want to talk about some of the trends that I've seen come out in the surveys over the years that relate to changes in our profession. We've broken this up into several different sections, one of those being skills and the types of things that we do on a regular basis. And in the survey, I had people rank things as to the items that they felt were most valuable in their daily work lives, however they chose to define that within their own situations. And so these are the top skills, the top ranked skills from our Skills and Technology survey. And there's not a lot of movement over the years. I've been doing these surveys for about 13 years now. The items at the very top have always been highly ranked items. So it's clear that we know the core of what we get paid for. Writing procedures is one of those. Task analysis, writing reference information. So those are things that we live and breathe on a regular basis, and that I still enjoy doing that as a large part of my work. Interviewing is one of those interesting skills where I don't believe that there's probably any of us that don't use interviewing skills in our daily work to be able to gather information from subject matter experts. But where do we learn those skills? That's actually one of those things that you don't find in traditional educational curriculums. It's even hard to find it at the local level through webinars and seminars. But it's something that everybody always mentions as being very important to what we do. Some of the items that are a little surprising to me in the statistics is the value placed on multimedia. Now, half of the people in the survey indicated that this is extremely valuable and a big part of what they do. But it's been that percentage for a long time, and I'm always surprised by that because over the last few years, more and more video has become a central part of the deliverables that I do as a technical communicator.
It's certainly something that I'm always thinking about with every project that I go into. Another item in the survey that was a little different this year was the search and indexing. Previously, I'd listed only the item of indexing, and last year I realized that there were probably different ways that people were thinking about indexing, and so this year I split it into search, where most of the work is involved in search engine optimization, metadata creation, and separate from typical back-of-the-book style indexing. And I'm glad I did that because it definitely separated out the percentages, where then indexing had been valued highly by 35% of the people last year, but now when I split it, there's a big difference. So highly valued, we have search highly valued by 48%, and traditional indexing highly valued by only 28%. So there's definitely a difference there. But now just to look at a difference that we have with from the STC survey, some of the items are just the same, but other items are a lot higher than in the U.S. survey. So at least for the people that participated in the STC India survey that I put together, the percentage of people that highly valued the work that they put into search was much higher than in the general Writers UA survey, and the other area that was much higher was in information architecture. So I don't know if that if that applies to everybody, but for the people in the survey, that there definitely was a difference in the way that you're thinking about things here in your country. Some other skills that we talk about in the survey is expertise with authoring tools, and that's always been an area that is of high interest to everybody each year that takes the survey. Some of the items less so. Content reuse, single sourcing development. For several years, it's been at the level of about 2/3 of the respondents indicating that that was extremely important. That's another area that always surprised me, that it didn't become higher, because again, in a lot of the projects that I work on, it seems like single sourcing comes up all the time. There's very few projects where it's a single media that I'm delivering content to. And it may be that people just aren't using single sourcing techniques as much, even if they may be doing different media outputs. And another one that hasn't increased much is usability testing. And I think that number of 40% is relatively low, because I've been involved with a lot of user experience projects through a company called Blink, which I do work with in the Seattle area, and they do a lot of usability testing. And it's really opened my eyes to, over the past 5 to 7 years, seeing what usability testing can tell you, not only about software, but about your documentation. And I'm involved in the software industry. Almost all of my work is in that area. And in the software industry, it's almost impossible to find a professional software development process that doesn't actively test the software at many different levels. Aggressively, actively identifying problems with the way that we produce that information. But when you look at the documentation, the online help that's developed for that same software, we very rarely in our profession have the opportunity to do usability testing of our documentation. And it's a cultural issue, not in the United States, throughout the world, everywhere that I go, I kind of find that it's just not common to get resources for that. But yeah, I mentioned I've been doing this work for over 30 years or so, and I was reflecting on all of the projects I've done in that time, and most of that work, I didn't test my documentation. I didn't have users actively work through use case scenarios to find out if in fact if they worked through a procedure that they were able to have the desired effect. And now I wonder how much of that work that I did actually ended up being useful to people. It's kind of a sobering thought, and so I encourage everybody to think about ways that you can test your documentation with whatever resources you might have available. Now, for this particular question, content reuse was much higher for the India respondents than for the overall Writers UA survey. Expertise with authoring tools was the same. The response to usability testing was higher. Actually, overall, the STC India results tended to value quite a lot of things higher than our overall survey. So I'm just wondering if maybe we're fortunate to get the most active people responding to the survey, because there are definitely a lot of high numbers for this. Another area that we look at is experience people have with code level expertise, and so we look at a lot of different items. DITA, the Darwin Information Architecture, is one that it seems like it's been at 20%, 1 out of 5 people valuing it highly for a long time. That hasn't changed very much. I don't know if that's going to change. I know in the Seattle area, one of the reasons that DITA was never a big part of documentation in our metropolitan area of Seattle was because the largest manufacturers of software didn't use DITA as a framework. They didn't buy into that. So Microsoft and Boeing, for example, didn't have any DITA efforts involved. But in the last couple of years, certain divisions in Microsoft are using DITA. The same thing at Boeing, and Amazon is getting involved in DITA as well. And so all of a sudden there's a lot of interest in the Seattle area because jobs are asking for that skill. In fact, I teach at Bellevue College, and we added a class on DITA authoring, and that class is sold out, and so it looks like that's something more and more people are interested in. On the STC India survey, it was a higher percentage than the overall Writers UA survey. So almost 58% of the respondents indicated that, 61% of respondents indicated that understanding DITA was extremely important. In the survey, we talk about technologies as well, and one of those technologies that we look at is are the technologies provided by Microsoft for Windows Help, which has been for a long time one of the primary ways that people deliver documentation for Windows software. The HTML help system has been around for a long time. I wrote a book, actually the first book I wrote on Windows Help was in 1990, but I wrote a book on HTML help in 1995. And it changed a little bit over the next couple years, but the last revision was in 1998. And so the fact that only 24% of the respondents indicated HTML help is vital to their efforts may seem like a low percentage until you recognize that's for software that's been around since 1998. That's like crazy old in today's software world. It's still 1 out of 4 people doing documentation, according to our survey, find it extremely important to their efforts. And then you can see right below that the numbers for from the STC survey, we're very close to that for HTML help. And the percentage of people still using WinHelp from the STC India respondents was higher than the overall survey. And that's going back even further. So that means supporting software that's from 1991, 1992. So supporting legacy versions of software, I guess, is something that's going to continue to be a big issue for us. And we look at other technologies as well in the survey to see if people are involved with those. A lot of technical communicators aren't even aware that there are help options specific to the Mac OS put out by Apple, Java help, Oracle help for Java. Most of us are familiar with browser-based help because that is the primary way that most of us deliver help these days. So you can see 3/4 of the people highly value browser-based help, and that's almost the same percentage from the STC India survey. And you can see that in your own country as well, those other items aren't used very much. What about manuals? That's something that I think is always interesting to consider as to how important they are in our daily work. When we were talking about manuals, you definitely have to split it out between PDF digital versions of manuals and print versions. And PDF manuals are definitely something of high importance to all of us because of their the easy ability to be able to convert into that format, that it's so ubiquitous with plugins for PDF available for browsers worldwide. And print's much lower, but on the other hand, 1 out of 5, that's still a lot of people actively valuing printed materials for their documentation. So that's not going away anytime soon. There's a lot of organizations where they have legal requirements to provide information in print. Their customers want to get information in print. It may be a situation where people are not necessarily online and have to be able to have printed versions. So I think that's always going to continue to stay with us. One of the questions I have about PDF manuals at some point I want to add into the survey is to get a little bit more understanding of how many of us actively craft our PDFs in terms of including a lot of hot links and a solid table of contents, good searchability, as opposed to just save as PDF. Because I think there's definitely a difference there between a real high fidelity digital version of a document and something that's just a quick dump from Word or our other popular authoring tools. And the other digital media don't have really high pickup, even though I assume that EPUB would be more popular than it is now, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Now for PDF and print, the numbers in the STC India responses were pretty close to what we had, with 82% highly valuing PDF and 29% highly valuing print, with some higher percentages for EPUB and the other digital media options. Looking at other technologies and how they're valued, you can see a ranking of these technologies, with the web itself as a platform being right up there at the top, but a lot of other items that we get involved with for technical communication: quick reference, knowledge base, multimedia tutorials, forums and wikis are highly valued by only 1 out of 4 people. But that's actually gone up a lot. So that had just been a small percentage of people before this, and it's increased a lot over the last few years. So more and more of us are thinking about how to use those more actively for our user assistance. And in the STC survey, just about every item on that list had a higher percentage than in the overall Writers UA. So again, people that were responding to STC India survey are all very progressive because you're highly valuing a lot of different deliverables, which is really good to see that you're interested in these different types. One of the things that frustrates me sometimes when I'll be talking to different people in technical communication is it's so often I ask people what types of documentation they put together, and often we do a PDF manual and we do online help, and that's it. And that's fine. Those are, as you can see from the survey, they're important methods. They satisfy a certain a high percentage of our customers, but there's so many different ways to present information to our customers, and I've always believed that different people like to learn in different ways, and if you have the resources, it's worth it to think about different ways to present that information. We've had so much success in projects I've worked on adding in video components, but those are so popular, and frankly, if I had to measure the effectiveness of a help system versus video for a particular procedure, I think the help system might actually result in better learning. But there's also just the issue of responding to what people are interested in, because if they're not consuming their information, they're not getting that information. And if they're turned off by a PDF but turned on by a video, then you really have to consider that as being something you want to include. We do a separate survey where we look at the tools that people used, and you can kind of see the percentages here. I didn't include that in the STC India survey. You can kind of see the rankings of these aren't rankings of necessarily of satisfaction, but broadly of tools that people use. So, for example, the top vote getter, Adobe Acrobat. So 3/4 of all respondents indicated that was a tool that they use, and then lesser percentages after that for the others. I thought it was interesting that a screen capture tool like Snagit was so popular among user assistance professionals, and that so many of the Adobe products are included in there. I think a lot of that is because of the development of the technical communication suite over the years, and just the value you get out of all of those products being available at a price. I think the introduction of suites to authoring tools has definitely put more good tools in the hands of people than we had in the past. And so other vendors offer suites as well. Looking at platforms, it's probably no surprise that Windows is the top platform that we support. But looking at a couple other things, mobile, 39% of respondents indicated that was a platform they support. So 2 out of 5 respondents, their organizations are currently supporting mobile. That's increased dramatically. It was just 5% a few years ago. So that's changed a lot. And another thing that's changed a lot over the last 5 years is the percentage of respondents indicating that they support Mac OS X. And I think that comes because of the influence of the iPhone, and the iPad has more people buying Macs, and so that number's increased quite a bit as well. And And then looking at legacy information, again, interestingly, 21% of people still support Windows of the version 1998 and before that. Figures for STC India were pretty much the same. In fact, the mobile number was exactly the same. So it seems like those percentages are pretty close in both of those. We also asked specifically what platforms people support. So if you're doing mobile, if you're supporting mobile, what are the device platforms that you support? And so it's more or less a tie between iOS for iPhone, iPad, and Android and web apps. So web apps are a very viable platform. It's just a platform you don't hear about as much because there's no sales associated with it. So you hear about Android, you hear about iPhone so much because there's just billions of dollars in the sales of those devices, whereas web apps don't have that same cachet. But those are the top three that we support, and that's also reflected in the numbers for STC India, with the difference that in STC India, Windows Phone is much more highly supported than in the overall Writers UA study. It looks like on my clock we've got 12 minutes here, so I'm going to, of my allotted time, so I'm going to just keep going along with that. We also look at frameworks. So these are processes that we use in our work to construct our user assistants. And Agile software development, another item that Sammy mentioned, that's increased dramatically over the past few years. So well over half of the respondents indicated that they're involved in some form of Agile development in their organization. So, if there's a skill that you'd want to learn more about, then that would be it. So I started talking with 45 minutes. So are we at 5 minutes or 11 minutes? Okay, so I got to cut short. All right, sorry guys, but our clocks aren't in sync. So definitely recognize that. I already mentioned DITA as in terms of those numbers. Agile software development valued even more highly in the STC India survey. So 3/4 of the respondents indicated that was extremely important to the work that they do. The other items that I have are more salary related. I'm just going to include them briefly just because they might be of interest to you. It turns out that in our salary survey, most of the respondents are from the United States and a little bit in Canada. So some of these aren't relevant. But if you're interested, this is a snapshot of what the U.S. User assistance folks find that they get in terms of benefits. So the top benefit that's received is getting paid medical and dental coverage, also getting some type of retirement funding, which in the United States the main format is you put in some money and then the company matches what you put in. So that's also widely used. Bonuses, paid training, profit sharing, some stock options, so it kind of diminishes from there. Now in terms of satisfaction with their jobs, most people that take the Writers UA survey are pretty satisfied with their work, so that's kind of a good thing. So apparently UA people are pretty happy with the types of things that we're involved in. One of the biggest things that people indicated they were happy about if they had it was flexibility in work schedule. So the ability to balance other parts of family life with a full-time job. So that's definitely one of the biggest items. And then one of the things we find with working conditions is that most companies haven't increased their staffing much over the past few years. However, the number of projects has increased a lot, with the result being that everybody ends up working a lot harder than they did a few years ago. So I guess we're really happy with all of our work, and we're willing to take on all the extra burden from the new projects. So a little bit of a dissonance there, but I guess, you know, if everybody's good with it, then we're in a good position. And the last thing I just wanted to mention, this is my last comment, is just on salary. So just if you're interested, the average salary of UA people in the United States is $85,000 per year. That varies a lot in the United States depending on where you live. If you're in California, the average salary is more like $120,000 a year. But the costs are enormous for housing and everything. Everything in California is hugely expensive. Whereas if you're in a place like Nebraska, Kansas, in those states, your salaries are going to be lower, but your expenses are much lower as well. So I just wanted to show that. And then the single biggest differentiator in salary is whether or not you're a full-time manager. And so that's the single biggest indicator that as to whether you're going to get a significantly larger salary, is if you're doing 75% or more of your time managing other people. You know, for me, that never worked out. I never really liked managing people, so I had to go work for myself because I hit this ceiling really fast where the only way I could make more money was by being a manager. And I didn't really like that too much, but I guess that's the way it is. And then in terms of experience, you can see that in response to our survey, overwhelmingly there's a lot of people with a lot of experience in our industry. In this survey, over 3/4 of the respondents have been working in this field for 10 or more years. Hopefully we're going to keep getting more and more younger people involved. I teach a program at the University of Washington where we get new people getting involved, and so things like STC are vital to be able to get those people involved in our profession, get new ideas circulating among us. And when I was doing a talk a few months ago, I was interested to find out what younger people were thinking about technical communication. And so I went on Twitter and I searched for technical communication to see what kind of posts I would be getting from the overall worldwide Twitter feed. And I found this one person who tweeted named Amanda Jensen. And that's a picture of Amanda from her Twitter feed. And here's the tweet that Amanda put out about her technical communication class at university. I absolutely despise my tech comm class, in capital letters. We only ever learn about one type of technical communication, not all of them. So she really despised it, but I want to know what the one type was, because she definitely needed to diversify, but she didn't stop there. So within another minute, there was another tweet for Amanda where she follows up on that saying, yes, I am definitely going to just submerge myself in company technical writing my whole life. That's what I'm doing with my life. Nice sarcastic comment, somebody who's now spent 32 years doing this. And Amanda's basically diminishing everything for my 3 decades of work. It's like, that's, the whole life. But she wasn't done. One more tweet after that to follow up her trio of thoughts about the world of technical communication. And by the way, I really believe in concise writing, so I appreciate Amanda's final tweet, which was, stupid technical communication. So hopefully I'll meet Amanda sometime. That's the end of my presentation. Again, the slides are available. Thank you very much. And I'll be around if you have any questions, and I'll also giving a talk tomorrow morning on concise writing. Thank you.